Hello, everybody, and happy Monday when you finally, if it is Monday when you listen to this. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening when you're finally listening to this. Welcome to the Human Intelligent Dialogue. I am president and founder of the Human Intelligent Workplace, where we look to work to help organizations be more human-centered and human-focused in the growing era of AI. I have the pleasure today of having myself joined by Vitus Dono, who is the founder and CEO of Vitus OD Consultant. He's coming in from a different part of the world. I'm coming in from Orlando, Florida. I'm going to give him an opportunity to share with you a little bit of his perspective, what part of the world he's coming in from, and what's he seeing in that side of the world. So, thank you for joining us for our podcast. And I hope you find this informative, insightful as we continue with this one and add a variety of others coming down the pike. So thank you for joining us. So Vitas, tell us a little bit about yourself, what part of the world you're coming in from, all of those good things.
Thank you, Dr. Marino, for having me on the Human Intelligent Dialogue. It's a pleasure to join this important conversation on designing better workplaces, a topic that actually resonates deeply with my work as an OD practitioner in Ghana and across Africa. So I'm the founder and CEO of St. Vitus OD Consult in Ghana. My background is in organizational development. I have a Master of Science in OD, and I'm a certified OD consultant from the Institute of Organizational Development. In my work, I help organizations, especially SMEs, small and medium scale enterprises, navigate human side of transformation, supporting leadership and aligning strategy with structure, culture, and people so that they can manage change more systematically rather than reactively. Ultimately, the goal is to help create workplaces where people and performance can actually thrive and where change is appreciated as an opportunity rather than a threat. So that's what I do in Ghana.
Awesome, which is obviously why I invited you because we have two things in common. We just want to make this place a better, it's particularly the workplace, a better human-focused place where humans can really reach their fullest potential while they're trying to make a livelihood for their family. So thank you for that so much, and thank you for joining me. So tell me something about your journey and mission in organizational development. You mentioned you're certified in OD and are doing some work in your part of the world with this kind of stuff. So tell me, enlighten us a little bit on your journey overall and what you've experienced so far.
Okay, thank you for that. So I started organizational development somewhere in 2015. That's about 10 years ago. Uh, and I kind of developed a passion for this when I was the principal for a technical institution. And I was faced with the situation of having to develop the people, having to find ways where people could feel more engaged, people could feel better, like people could really feel themselves working and feel happy doing it. So that's how come I came into the organizational development space, and the journey has moved on from there. When I started my own consulting, one of the biggest trends that I see is the need for organizational agility. Many of my clients are under pressure to adapt external factors. Okay, there are lots of forces coming in: digital transformation, evolving customer expectations, demographic shifts in the workforce, and all of that. At the same time, they are often constrained with hierarchical cultures, outdated structures, and limited leadership capacity for change. In Ghana and across Africa, where I work, SMEs particularly face the challenge of adapting new technology, especially today when AI is all over the place, while preserving cultural identity and social cohesion. AI it's becoming more of a threat to them, and we want to project more of the human factor, let people and enhance work with AI rather than uh, fear AI as taking over from them.
Oh, interesting. So it's so fascinating listening to you speak from your part of the world, because one of the things I also do is teach in Latin America, as you know, some graduate courses down there for an American university. And I always find it interesting when they ask me, well, can you talk to things that are unique to us? And I go, when it comes to human dynamics, what I have found is there's not much different. I've been in Asia, I've been in Latin America, in Canada. Obviously, I'm in the U.S. I've been in Europe. I haven't made to your part of the world. Maybe somewhere down the road I will. But as I'm hearing you and listening to, and as I've experienced on my time doing this kind of work, it's been that, at the end of the day, humans want to be treated as humans in spite of the growth of AI and so forth. So fascinating stuff that you're talking about. And by the way, the other piece that I really enjoyed is knowing that we're several generations apart, knowing that the younger generations like yourself coming behind me get this passion and interest in how can we just make the world a better place, in particular, the workplace a better place at the end of the day. So thank you so much for that, Vitus. And thank you for highlighting some of those trends that you're seeing overall. So what solutions do you see in action? What strategies do you see that are making a difference out there in your work?
Okay, so interested when you talked about humans being the same, and like you said it right, humans are humans everywhere. Every part of the world is still the same people. So cultures may differ, but the systems are the same. So I actually approach these through an OD lens, okay, because of my background in OD, I approach this through that perspective. First, we look at conducting systematic assessments to understand the current state of the organizations. Then we work with leadership teams to create alignment in their strategy, structures, purposes. And we have several assessment tools that we use to do that, to gather data and be able to diagnose what exactly is going on, get to the root cause of it. And then we redesign structures to enable agility, clarify strategies, develop leadership mindsets. We also design sustainable change interventions, ensuring transformation is embedded in the day-to-day practices of the people. OD actually helps us to focus not only on what needs to change, but on how human systems evolve. So this has been the trends that we are seeing, and we have come to realize that the, the process is as important as the end, if not more important. So we are not just looking for the solutions, we are not just looking for the end goals, but we are looking at the process through which they move from point A to point B. So this is one of the issues that we've been handling all this while. One of the major issues that is actually also in Ghana and Africa now is digital transformation. Africa is coming from a background of low tech, and we are trying to catch up fast. And that is actually causing a lot of turmoil in organizations and industry. So that is one place that we are really needed in there as OD practitioners to be able to like create that transformation appropriately so that people are able to work progressively.
Vitas, you bring up a great point. To your point, Ghana and Africa is trying to catch up faster to technology and so forth. But the other thing it has going for itself is the world as we know it's aging. And that includes the United States, definitely Europe, Asia, and so forth. But some of the continents that are younger are Latin America and the African continent. So that's going to be an interesting I see as an opportunity down the road for organizations as they continue to grow globally and think about, okay, yes, we're going to need to bring in AI, but also how do we bring in maybe a younger workforce behind it, and where do we get that younger workforce? So interesting stuff that's happening there. So speaking of that, let's project a little bit toward the future and the future of work. So how do you see AI, the hybrid remote models, or just the changing of work overall in the workforce evolution? How do you see that playing out in your part of the world and in the organizations and the clients that you're working with as you try to continue to help organizations be more humanly intelligent?
Thank you. So one thing that I think, or the first step I see, is to demystify AI. Okay, there's a lot of ambiguity about how AI is going to affect the workplace, and it's going to do this, it's going to do that. But I think ultimately AI is, although it's transforming the workplace, from an OD perspective, I think the key question is how do we shape the human system to thrive along with AI? This means fostering adaptive cultures, building emotional intelligence in leadership, and designing organizations that elevate unique human skills: creativity, empathy, collaboration. It also means addressing the psychological impacts of AI, managing fear, building trust, and ensuring ethical implementations. Personally, I do not think that AI is going to take over the world. I think people are going to use AI and take over the world themselves. In the African context, we must also ensure technology adoption is culturally intelligent. and also sensitive to the local workforce dynamics, because this is where OD actually plays a critical role so that we don't lose our culture in that bid to catch up with the Western world.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, that's. I think you're right. It's kind of this yin and yang. People are concerned about, how's it going to impact us, and unfortunately, history has taught us if there's a way that humanity can figure out how to use something bad, they will. But I'd like to lean on the optimistic side and the positive side that hopefully it doesn't become a Terminator or a Matrix world environment going forward, but that actually there's some goodness there that humanity will be able to, particularly to bring it into the workplace and use it in a great way. So that's great advice from you. So speaking of that, as you know, one of the things I've wanted to do is people's time is important and is of essence. So this human intelligent dialogue I'd like to engage us in is usually short and sweet to the point so people can move on to their other things, but hopefully they reflect and think about some of the things we've talked about, or later on they reach back out to either one of us and go, hey, maybe I can use some help on this kind of stuff, whether it's be through executive coaching or leadership development or whatever it may be, organizational development type work. But what actionable advice would you give based on your work with in the OD space, knowing what you know about AI, knowing what you know about what's happening in your part of the world and how it's trying to catch up with the rest of the world, type of thing? What actionable advice, and also the work that you and I have been doing together, you've been reading some of my articles and helping me with the videos and so forth. What actionable advice would you have for managers, employees, and HR professionals in general, particularly if you want to put it under that big umbrella of organizational development, as organizations need to continue to reinvent themselves going forward?
Okay, so I would offer three recommendations here. First, embrace systems thinking. Look beyond individual issues and focus on how your organization's paths fit and interact. This is critical. The second one would be to invest in leadership capacity for change. Adaptive leadership is essential in today's uncertain world. Okay. And the last one, I would say design your culture consciously. Culture is invisible force, is that invisible force that determines whether change will succeed or fail. Above all, remember that change is about people and relationships. Once you grasp this particular concept, I think that the world is ready to use AI for the best of what the humans can get out of this world.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's interesting you mentioned that, and you triggered a thought now. So another article will be coming out. To your point, the whole systems thinking thing, having been internally forever myself, starting with the Air Force and then in corporate America, and now over the last few years working for myself. It gives me a chance to kind of step out and look at organizations as they try to reinvent themselves. And having been involved in leadership development for quite some time, one of the things I noticed over time is that sometimes they organizations would come at it from one angle and one angle only, versus, to your point, using the systems approach to make effective change in organizations. So when it came to leadership development, what I have seen at times is we're going to send the leaders through and educate them on a different behavior that they need to implement going forward, number one. Number two, so all managers are going through it except senior executive teams, which I always found that kind of interesting. And third is what I like to call the car wash syndrome. If you take a car through the car wash when it's raining, when it comes out on the other side, it's still dirty. And the reason I say that is because if you just do leadership development and you don't take it a holistic and systemic approach, to your point, then you need to ensure that you're including accountability. You need to ensure that you're including rewards for these new changes, behavior changes that you want from your leaders. And unfortunately, I've seen some more organizations they need to that only implement, hey, we're going to educate our leaders, and then voila, things are going to change all of a sudden. And that to me is not taking an OD holistic approach. It's just taking a one-way approach that I think then they wonder, well, why isn't it paying off? And I'm like, well, because you didn't address all the other variables that come into mind. What are your thoughts on that?
So it's interesting when you say that, because I was just thinking of one of the projects that we worked on. And like you say, when you focus on leadership development, okay, we have all these training programs. We try to get them to understand the systems and to work all the best way. On one of the projects we worked on, we realized that it was not enough to train leadership alone. Everybody in the organization needed some bit of training. Everybody needed some bit of understanding of how things work for it to work. It was not enough to only train. So we actually had to structure different forms of training for the different groups. But in the end, we ensured that every group in the organization was trained and everybody bought into that picture of that collaborative workforce. And that was the turning point. That was what really helped them out there, because it was just not enough to train some people and leave some people. Everybody must know what we are doing. Everybody must understand what's going on. And then everybody can contribute positively to the growth of the organization. So it definitely has to be holistic.
Yeah, Vitus, and you remind me of a conversation you and I had a while back, and also with Dr. Nancy too about that. And that is, people don't need to understand the why we're doing this. Our brains are wired that way. That's one of the future podcasts. I'll be talking about neuroscience and neuroleadership. Be bringing in some guests to talk about that. But our brains are wired to understand why are we doing this, and if we're not clear enough, if senior executive is not clear enough, and the organization and its communication efforts are not clear enough as to the why, you're going to be limping along and maybe not even achieve the changes that you want. So thank you for this so much. So Vitus, in closing, what a couple of thoughts or advice you'd give to folks to kind of think about as they walk away from here?
Okay, so my passion is helping organizations design workplaces where both people and performances can thrive, as I stated, and where change becomes an opportunity rather than a threat. As OD practitioners, we can help leaders create more conscious, intentional organizations. And that, I believe, is the heart of building a truly human intelligent workplace.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vitus, CEO and founder of his organization too. And here at the end of this podcast, you'll also get his link and information and access to it. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. We just wanted to put plant some seeds along from Vitus's perspective, from his side of the world type of perspective. But at the end of the day, as he and I both mentioned, you know what? Humanity is humanity, and they just want to live a better life every day. And they're expected to. They will probably, some of the research say, spend about 90,000 hours of their adult life at work. So managers, CEOs, and presidents, make sure you tap into your OD professionals like Vitus's of the world and myself of the world to help you out to make sure that you're moving your organization forward and it's a healthy place overall. Because unfortunately, in the book, Dying for a Paycheck, it's been pointed out that the fifth cause of death is work due to stress. So managers and leaders, I get it. You have those issues too going on. That's where we can help out. And hopefully this has been helpful for you and insightful for you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a great rest of your day and upcoming week, and be on the lookout for some more of our podcasts coming down the road. It's been a pleasure being with you today. Take care.